I have with me Sean Mandell, who is an editor-at-large at Towleroad, and also a longtime friend of mine. Thank you so much for joining us, Sean.
Of course, happy to be here.
So we had a really, really exciting debate last night, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. How do you think the debate went for Hillary?
I think she nailed it. I think she hit it out of the park. She knew exactly what she had to do, I think, which was to very carefully counteract and countermand sort of like Donald Trump's narrative, which was that he was trying to get under her skin, but instead she got under his, which is exactly the opposite of what happened in every single other presidential debate that Donald Trump has been involved in the primary season. So she was actually able to flip the tables on him in a way that no one else so far this year has. So I think it was a home run.
Very interesting. I agree with that, definitely. So Lester Holt charged Trump on his birther claims.
Right.
Do you think that is going to hurt him now in the race, specifically because of him, of course, denying it, and then, of course, his clear record of pushing it over the past X amount of years?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think the simple answer would have been for Trump just to make a simple apology. I mean, I think Hillary Clinton had the best answer of the night when challenged on something that is not typically a good issue for her, which is the emails. She's been struggling on and on to have a concise, clear answer that also is the same and consistent over time about the email controversy. And she had the perfect answer last night. Donald Trump needed that version of an answer for the birther question. He needed to just say, you know what, I was wrong to push it for as long as I did. But he can't do that because so many of his supporters, his base, are so deeply tied to the birther movement and tied to his fanning that flame. So he can't just disavow them. So he was walking an impossible line there. But I think he went out of his way to sort of offend minority voters or anyone who really is offended by the birther controversy by saying that he has nothing to say to people of color.
Interesting. You bring up the email controversy that was brought up, but Hillary Clinton's response was fairly short, and she actually apologized with a short response to the email. Is that going to gain her any votes from any people that are undecided on both sides?
I don't know that it's going to gain her any votes, but I think that it was the right way to approach it in the forum. I think that given the amount of time that they had, I think a short and concise answer and something that resonated with people, just saying, I'm sorry and I was wrong, that's what I think a lot of people have been looking to hear, rather than a lengthy, lawyerly answer, which she's been accused of giving in the past. So I think, if anything, it'll help sort of move the emails out of the column of reasons why people can't vote for Hillary. I think that's what she was trying to do.
So there were no LGBT issues that were discussed last night in the debates. Do you think that there's going to be any glimpse of those brought up later on or in the future to debates, even in the vice presidential debate?
Yeah, I think that the most likely issue to be brought up is probably the issue of transgender bathroom rights. Just given the fact that Hillary Clinton was campaigning on it today in North Carolina, attacking the state for going into that special session last year to pass HB2. And I think that it's something that would be interesting if it's brought up, because Trump has historically tried to play both sides of it without actually trying to pander to his base, while at the same time also trying to paint himself as an advocate of LGBT rights. So I think it would be interesting if it is brought up. And I think that's probably the most likely to be brought up, followed by the issue of Supreme Court justices, given that he has specifically said contradictory remarks about this Supreme Court's decision on same-sex marriage. When you look at the totality of it, he still comes across as an anti-marriage equality foe. However, there's enough room there that a moderator could press him on it, simply because Supreme Court is going to be such a big issue in this election, although it's largely faded to the background in recent months.
Could be Anderson Cooper.
It could be Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper also has a history of including, while not favoring LGBT issues in his coverage, which I think has been very fair, and he's won a lot of praise for in his in the way that he conducts himself when talking about LGBT issues. So I think that there is a good chance that he will bring it up, also because Anderson tends to cover a wide area of subject matter in his questions and debates.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that gay voters specifically have enough confidence in Hillary coming out of this first debate, considering it was so split between Bernie and Hillary coming out of the primaries?
I do. I think that I've been really heartened to see, and really surprised actually to see, a lot of people who were, personally, I would have categorized more in the Bernie or bust camp earlier on in the campaign season, really rally behind Hillary. And I think that, as they've come to know more about her life story, because I think especially for millennial Bernie supporters, a lot of, it's a point that's been made, but it bears reiterating that a lot of millennial supporters grew up benefiting from the things that Hillary has campaigned for and worked for, but haven't themselves actually, weren't old enough to remember the accomplishments being achieved. So I think that when you had the national convention, and I think you've had increased focus on her versus Trump, I think a lot of the Bernie Sanders supporters have come around to her. And, I think her performance last night will do her well with them because she was so on point. And I think there's nothing a millennial loves more than a great performance. So she had that in spades last night.
Fantastic. So just to kind of close up this wonderful interview with you, what do you think Hillary Clinton needs to do right now to lock in a win on November 8th?
I think, it really is contingent, I think, on these two more debates simply because they are so high profile. They had 80 million viewers last night, which is the largest audience in the history of presidential debates. So it's going to be the single most deciding factor. And we've seen that before in previous election years. Those sound bites, even in our social media age, they stick. And in fact, I think they stick even more because they are played even more ad nauseum. So I think that what she has to do is just continue on the path that she is on and not get rattled, and not, the one thing I would say she has to do is not make any unforced errors, which the Clinton campaign has done in the past. And I think if they can avoid unforced errors and just stay on the path that they are on, that they will win November 8th.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on Pride News, Sean. I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope that you come on again very soon.
Pleasure. Thanks, Marcus.
Mm-hmm.